What is going on, all you mentees? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and due to popular demand, we are back with this segment of Hidden Gems. We're going to be talking about 5 hidden gems, but this one's going to be a little different. These are going to be horror-centric because of the month of October, so please stay tuned. And welcome back, everybody, and thank you to all of you that suggested bringing this segment back. I have missed doing this, showing you all some books that, to me, a lot of people don't talk about, so that's what this is about, and today we're going to be focusing on horror-centric ones. Only 5 of them, but if you want to see more, leave comments down below and let me know if you want to see some more. I'd be happy to make another video of 5 more, because there is a lot. Some of these things you may have heard of, you may have heard me even talk about them, so that's okay. I'm going to go into just a little bit of detail and showcase some of the artwork like I normally do with these hidden gems. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have Babyteeth. This is year 1 hardcover collection from Aftershock Comics. This is written by Donnie and drawn by Gary Brown. It is this particular collection collects 12 issues of this ongoing series. So it is still ongoing. There's 3 trade paperbacks so far. By the way, this one is mature readers. I will try to warn you ahead of time. I think all of these are mature readers, just in case. So it's still ongoing. It's on hiatus right now because Donnie Cates is busy doing other stuff. But it's the story of Sadie Ritter. She's a 16-year-old girl in Salt Lake City that gets pregnant. And then while she's having contractions on her way to the hospital, earthquakes start happening every time there's a contraction. So something is going on. Something interesting and different is happening with this particular birth. Now, after her son Clark is born, the earthquakes immediately stop. By the way, she did name her son Clark after Superman because she's a big comic book fan. Now, it all comes together when we're introduced to this secret society group called the Silhouette that come after her son. They're trying to get her son because they believe... Well, they're trying to kill her son because they believe that her son is the Antichrist. And as you read this, there's a lot of mystery, and then you start questioning yourself whether something is real or something isn't. Now, they aren't the only group after him, but I don't want to spoil that for anybody. Now, the story is pretty basic, right? Like, you've seen this premise before with things like Rosemary's Baby. Is it really the son of Satan or some kind of demon? I'll leave that up to you to find out by reading the book. But it's so much more than that because Donnie Cates is able to portray this wonderful family, this relationship between Sadie and her sister Heather. Heather's a freaking badass, I love her, and her father. And then on top of that, we get to meet a demonic raccoon. There's also a warlock and then other assassins that come after the baby. So put that all together with Gary Brown's artwork, which really fits the tone of the book. I cannot recommend this enough. It is a great book if you've never read it. If you're a fan of Donnie Cates, you definitely should check it out. Like I said, it is on hiatus, so keep that in mind because it's still an ongoing story. Next up is The Realm by Seth, Peck, and Jeremy Hahn. By the way, this has 3 volumes from Image Comics, again rated mature. I don't want anybody to start reading these and not expect some graphic content because I think, like I said, most of these, or if not all of these, are mature content. Now, I am cheating a little bit because this one is a little dark fantasy and less horror, but it still has horror elements. So to me, this feels like I'm reading Lord of the Rings meets Mad Max meets Walking Dead. That's what it feels like. Okay, that's a really interesting amalgam, but I swear that is what the story feels like. So it is set in the not-so-distant future here in America, and it picks up about a decade after this huge giant invasion of goblins and orcs and just magicians and then all kinds of other fantasy creatures have taken over the land. So there's not that many human survivors. As a matter of fact, all the humans kind of gather together to try to survive in this world. And one of the survivors we meet is Nolan, Will Nolan. And he is a bodyguard and a guide for hire. And he's taking a group of people out to Kansas City. And there are some soldiers and scientists that he's leading on this secret mission. He himself has a secret, so it's a huge road trip. And then there's this awesome, badass, masked and deadly warrior named Rook. She's freaking awesome, too. I know I just said Heather from the previous book was awesome, but she's great, too. I kind of like these mysterious characters. And each of them have their own little secrets. And what they're doing, why they're going on this trip, is one of the biggest mysteries of this book, and it's a lot of fun. So Seth Peck, I'm familiar with because of his writing in X-Men, but this is the first time I've seen Jeremy Hahn's artwork. So immediately I got vibes from like Charlie Adler from The Walking Dead. So he has this independent kind of art style to him. His panel layouts are really good and they're easy to follow. So that's another thing that I did enjoy about this book. Next up is Beautiful Darkness by Fabian Veldman and Keras Koe. And I know I'm completely butchering those names and I apologize. I also realized that this book is very controversial. One of my good friends, Omnidog, hates this book so much he drowned it in root beer. But me, I freaking love this book. This book is published by Drawn and Quarterly. It is a hardcover edition. This one is. There is a softcover edition of this book. It is definitely mature reading. The least I say about this story, though, the better off you are. But I feel like it's important to warn people about the main premise because, you know, sometimes death of animals bother people. Sometimes death of children bother people. So I do want to be upfront about these things when I talk about these books. So to talk about the book is a bunch of homeless little fairies and pixies that are living out in the woods find a new home. Now they find a new home in the body of a decaying little girl that's just laying out in the woods. So that sets the tone of the book. It looks like a cute little fairy tale story, but it is not. It is, just as the title suggests, Beautiful Darkness. So what makes this book interesting is because you are immediately thinking of these fairy tale type of stories. You know the ethics of all these little fairies and pixies from reading childhood stories or watching Disney movies. But when you get down to it, they have the ethics of human beings, which makes it disturbing. That's what really, really captivated me about this story. It's like if you were to take Lord of the Flies and Animal Farm and throw it into one of those Silly Symphonies shorts or the Smurfs, for example, that's what you would get out of this. Because you're tricked into thinking you're going to be reading something, but it's something completely different. But this is complete. There is no follow-up to this. It is all told through here. The Empty Man by Cullen Bunn. This is published by Boom Studios. There are only 3 volumes, and he is joined by different artists in each of the volumes. The first one here is Vanessa Del Rey. So the second story arc has a different artist, but I did want to point that out. It's all done through these 3 stories, definitely mature content, so keep that in mind. I've talked about Harrow County, and, you know, Cullen Bunn, he's one of these writers. I don't know how much he writes a month, but it feels like he is writing 4 comics a month. He's the guy that did The Sixth Gun, like I mentioned, Harrow County. He's done a lot of horror movies like books, that I may actually do an overview of on this channel if I continue the Hidden Gems. And he's also done Magneto, so he's done X-Men, Magneto, works for Marvel, and as well as his own independent stuff. But he seems like he definitely has a thing for horror. So this is just another example. So The Empty Man is a story of FBI agent Jensen and then the CDC investigator Langlord, and their partner to investigate a mysterious series of gruesome suicides rather. And all these suicides have one thing in common. They all seem to have been told to do it by this empty man. That is a creepy ass premise, right? I love that idea. It's a huge mystery. Do not read the back of the book because it spoils what it is, and I hate when comics do that. I don't need that much explanation, especially when it comes to horror. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. So there is a mystery that Cullen Bunn takes us on, and there are ups and downs, but what really, really gets me here is this relationship that Cullen Bunn is building between the 2 lead investigators. It's not like their relationship is romantic or anything, but it's just their bond that they feel like real people. It's like you're listening to real people. It kind of reminds me of The Wire. That was one of the beautiful things about The Wire, is that whatever group you were following, they all seemed like real people. They didn't seem scripted at all. That's what these 2 lead characters are like in this book. I mean, when they're looking over the dead bodies and trying to investigate this really weird thing that's going on, they're also talking about personal things in their own lives. So that's what struck me. Both of the artists are really solid on this book. There are a lot of creepy imagery in here. So if you're in for something that's weird and a mystery, this is definitely the one for you. And last but certainly not least, Sentient by Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Walta. This is published by TKO Comics, either in a trade paperback format like this, or in single issue formats with a nice little slipcase, and they are available through their store. You can get them at online shops, or you can get them through your comic book shops. And TKO, they've only published a series of 8 books so far, and each one of them is different. Each one of them is this one here, I think it won an Eisner if I'm not mistaken. But let's talk about this little mini series. There's 6 issues. It's all collected in here, and it all takes place inside of this big spaceship called the USS Montgomery. And inside of that ship, it's made up of settlers that are going to a space colony because they are leaving Earth, because Earth is on the verge of just being completely uninhabitable due to this giant climate change that has happened. Now, much like every good story, we have to have a problem, and that problem comes in the form of these terrorists that are a group of separatists that kill all the adults on the ship. So that leaves the 13 kids alone. But they're not really alone. They're alone with the ship's AI, known as Valerie. So it's Valerie and then Lily, who is the oldest child, and Isaac, whose mother was responsible for the terrorist attack that led to the death of all the adults. And it's this story, this wonderful story of all these kids having to come together, putting their differences aside to survive on this journey. And not only that, but there's other things that are threatening them too. And I won't get into details about that. But if you've not read this, definitely give this book a shot. It is freaking awesome. I couldn't put it down. I love the character growth. Gabriel Walta, he's the gentleman that did the Vision book for Marvel. So if you're familiar with that art style, it definitely suits this book. It is awesome. I can't recommend this enough. It's one of my favorite Jeff Lemire books. But yes, absolutely, Sentient from TKO. Now, you can purchase these books from our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you Minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And those were 5 more hidden gems. You all asked for it, and I came back. I've actually missed doing this. So, if you want to see 5 more hidden gems that are horror-centric, let me know, and I'll put that video together for next week. Again, please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications. More importantly, please, everybody, stay healthy, stay safe out there, and much love to all of you.